Welcome to the OMG Talk podcast with Paul Finkelstein. Great advice and talk with small business owners, workaholics, and whiz-bang entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Paul Finkelstein. Welcome to the Sarah Finkelstein Show, where the next 10 minutes can change your life. Also on Spotify, SoundCloud, and iHeartRadio. Here's Sarah.
Hello. Today, I'd like to talk about a very important topic that many Americans, I should say most Americans, are not prepared for, and that is long-term care, extended healthcare costs in retirement. So long-term care is a woman's issue, I say. Of course, it affects men too. Let's not forget that. Men also need long-term care at home, in assisted living, and so on. But why do I say that long-term care is a woman's issue? Well, for one reason, we tend to live longer than men. We outlive our partners, our husbands, our boyfriends. Women typically live longer than men. That is one reason that I say long-term care is a woman's issue. Also, we as women are known for taking care of other people, raising children when they're young. We are known for taking care of somebody who is ill, like a parent, a dad, a mom. And we also are the ones who take care of our husbands. And then what happens to us? Who is going to take care of us? Did you know that 1 out of 5 Americans are unpaid caregivers? In other words, they're taking care of a relative, a parent, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, taking care of them because family, that's what family does. But they are unpaid caregivers. And caregivers do endure tremendous stress. That's just the way that it is. But let's talk about statistics in long-term care. Why are so many Americans not prepared when we know statistically 70% of people over the age of 65 will need long-term care? Sometimes people think it's not going to happen to them. Maybe they're perfectly healthy and they anticipate being perfectly healthy for the rest of their lives. But let's face it, things happen to people of all ages. So what happens when somebody does not have a written long-term care plan and they find themselves in that position where they need help, where they need that assistance, whether it's somebody to come into their home to help them with what's called the activities of daily living, bathing, eating, dressing, toileting, continence, ambulating. Those are the activities of daily living that most of us just take for granted. We do them on a daily basis. But what happens when you need that help or your loved one needs that help, a parent, a loved one? We tend to spend down our retirement dollars, all those dollars that we've been saving for decades for our golden years, our retirement years, spending those down to pay for care. And when we do that, we spend 100% of the cost for that care. What can happen potentially, is nothing is left from your nest egg to leave to your children, your grandchildren, or maybe you decided that you want to leave money to charity. And if you don't have a written long-term care plan in place, you could deplete all of those assets that you had other goals for. Also, what can happen is you could become dependent on somebody else. whether it's for the care that they provide to you or the finances to pay for that care. Did you also know that many women fear becoming a bag lady? Now, what is a bag lady? A bag lady is a homeless woman who carries all of her possessions in shopping bags. And that, of course, nobody that I know wants to end up like that. Do you want to be an elegant lady or a bag lady? And I think I know the answer to that. But of course, the choice is yours. Every decision and non decision that we make does have consequences. We could dig our head in the sand and pretend that it'll never happen to us, and hopefully it won't. Maybe you'll be that lucky one out of three who never ever needs long term care. You live a long, long life and then you pass away, but all of your years were healthy and happy. So hopefully you will fit that statistic. But what if you don't? What if you become that one that needs care, the two out of the three that will need care? How will you deal with it? Everything comes back to planning. We have to plan for the what ifs, those things that we don't know that might happen to us, but we need to have a plan in place to deal with it. And isn't it better to have a plan in place to protect your nest egg and your dignity? And hopefully in the future, you never need it. But isn't it better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it? I think so, absolutely. So it's all about planning, and you can create a plan to leverage your dollars so that you're not spending 100% of that cost. And by the way, long-term care costs can be absolutely devastating to your financial well-being. So you can leverage your dollars with what? Insurance, right? We carry insurance on our home. We carry insurance on our cars, our vehicles, our boats, if you have one. Isn't it important to also carry insurance for the greatest risk that can happen to you and your family? So if you'd like to have a conversation to learn about some options where you can leverage your dollars and still preserve your retirement account, still be able to leave money to your children, grandchildren, or charity if that's what you want to do. Basically, having a written long-term care plan keeps you in the driver's seat. You decide how you want to spend your dollars. And many times people may have enough assets to quote unquote self-insure, but they're thrifty and they like the idea of leveraging their dollars. They don't want to spend 500, 600,000 of their portfolio of their nest egg to pay for care. They would rather pay a piece of the pie, a small piece. Because remember, insurance is all based on spending a few pennies to get many dollars of coverage. That's the basis of insurance, whether it's life insurance or Medicare insurance. Insurance is based on that concept to protect a big risk with a little bit of commitment. So if you have any questions, want to entertain this, and also I strongly, strongly recommend that you have this conversation with your family, with your parents, with your adult children. It is oh so important. Why? Because when something happens to a family member, that family member is going to pick up the phone and call their closest relative, whether it's a son or a daughter. And now family has to deal with it. They have to come up with a plan to not only provide the care, but pay for the care. And let me tell you, long-term care costs are not going down. They're going up year by year by year. So it's up to you. Decisions have consequences, and non-decisions also have consequences. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm here to help.
Knowledge is power, but only when you implement what you've learned to your own benefit. Tune in next time for even more powerful tips on The Sarah Finkelstein Show. Paul and Sarah, the real couple that cares about your Medicare, says that Tony from TRCVoiceovers.com is awesome if you want the best voice on the planet for any Audible project. Don't hesitate to reach out to him at Tony@TRCVoiceovers.com.